This is how the wealthy play the game of life. Not in survival mode, but in offense. The moment you can switch from survival mode to offense, the game changes.
Entrepreneurs have one thing in common. They keep going.
And so I had been building my self-esteem around being right, and that was holding me back. When you realize that you've made a mistake, it's actually exhilarating because you're like, whoa, I can run the physics of progress, I can get better at this thing and make this incremental improvement.
And that's the attitude. If you say, well, if I fail, I'll go back to mommy and daddy, then that's what you'll do. So if you fail, that's when I became an entrepreneur because I had no money. When you don't have this paycheck, you get hungrier, smarter, and it's a test of your character.
What I wish I can go back to do when I was in my 20s was take all the risks and be unattached to the outcome. Because when somebody would say take all the risks, I'd be like, you're crazy. I need half my hamburger until I know my next meal is coming. What I wish I would have known is be unattached to the outcome. I was so attached to the outcome. I was so fear-driven of never getting to where my parents were financially that I stopped myself because like, oh no, that's a little too risky. If I had just said, hey, keep what you need to feel safe and everything else, take a calculated risk and make them bigger because you always have found a way to win.
So, but progress can look like a lot of things. So have there been trade-offs in this pursuit of progress?
Have there been trade-offs, Mrs.
Yeah.
Bilyeu?
So as he was actually saying it, one other thing that we do that I think is extremely powerful is we play a game called No Ball. What would it actually take? So once we sit there and go, what is our goal? To build a studio as big as Disney. All right, before you even get started, we sit there and go, what? Like, no BS. Don't try and say like the things that we want it to be true, but actually what is true, that what would need to be true in order for us to build a studio as big as Disney. And so we sat there and we said, okay, it's gonna take us to put our own capital in. It's gonna take us to work hard. What does work hard look like? Is it a certain amount of hours? Is it a certain amount of achievements where you put things into place and you make sure you're always incrementally working towards that? Is it that maybe you have to, so this is exactly what we did with Quest. It was, oh, we have to put the house on the line. And that was like the no BS, that's what it's gonna take for us to go all in and build Quest Nutrition. And so once we sat there and said, okay, it's gonna take us to put our house on the line, it's gonna take me at the time to be the supportive wife to come in and help you out. It's gonna take no vacations. It's gonna mean you're gonna need to take a third of your pay cut. Like we literally sat down and wrote a laundry list of what it's gonna take to start Quest Nutrition. And once we had that list, we just looked at each other and we're like, all right, are we willing to do it? And if the answer, when the answer is yes, now you just know what you're heading towards. You know the type of path that you're about to approach. And so there's no surprises. There's no all of a sudden him coming home and going, yeah, babe, so the business isn't doing well. And so, oh my God, I'm so sorry, but we lose our house, right? There's no surprise. We've established what we're gonna do in order to go for that goal. And in that comes the sacrifices. What are you willing to sacrifice? What are the things that you're okay with putting aside for now? And a lot of that was my self-esteem, my ego of like, I didn't know what I was doing. So every day I'm struggling, I'm trying to figure something out and I keep failing. But I knew that I had to learn in order to get to the goal that we wanted to get to. So I knew every day I had to get back up.
You know, as the daughter of an immigrant, as a first-time business owner who didn't have any sort of like resources or wherewithal to get questions answered, I was always trying to hedge my bets and maintain what I had if I thought it was going to disappear. So I took that mindset going into starting businesses. I was always trying to be like, how do I keep or maintain? But what I wish I can go back to do when I was in my 20s was take all the risks and be unattached to the outcome. The biggest difficulty is that people fall and then they stay down. The greatest entrepreneurs are the people who understand that falling is part of the process. Yeah, it sucks. And yeah, I took the jump. And yeah, I didn't end up where I wanted to, but do I have the courage and wherewithal to get up again? And if the answer is yes, you're going to be in business. And the answer is no, you're going to go back to your cubicle and live a very predictable life that is not as fulfilling as you once hoped.
He says you always have to look at the big picture. Too many people look at, well, what's going to happen to me? When you look at the big picture, you're also going to know that when something bad happens, something good's going to happen. Mm-hmm. But you got to prepare for whatever is coming. If you think the last next 20 years will be like the last 20 years. You're gonna get creamed. You know, when you and I go to the supermarket and we buy a carton of milk, we always check for the expiration date. But most people do not check for the expiration date on their brains.
Who I am now as a risk taker is so different than who I was when I began. And the way that you strengthen that risk muscle is by taking risks. And when he said that 3 years into it, I realized, okay, now is the time for me to start taking those risks. I wish somebody would have told me that sooner. And this is always the advice I always go back to: jump and the net will appear. We all face a particular narrative, regardless if it's professional or personal, because if you decide that you want to run a marathon, oftentimes the person who stops you from running the marathon is nobody else but you. If you want to start a business, the person who's stopping you is nobody else but you. If you decide to run the marathon, somebody's gonna have an opinion of you while they're sitting on their couch, no less. They will have an opinion that you decided to run the marathon or you didn't decide to run the marathon. While somebody is sitting on their couch behind their keyboard, they're gonna have an opinion of you starting a business or not starting a business. The fact of the matter remains, are you going to let somebody else's opinion dictate what you are going to do in your life and the reason you are put on this earth? Oftentimes, the person who stops ourselves from doing other things, while we would like to point at other people because they have an opinion, it is actually us. We choose to believe, listen, adhere to somebody else's opinions, but somebody else's opinion of us doesn't pay our bills. The person who has an opinion about what it is you're doing was most likely never going to become a customer. So all of a sudden, somebody who was never going to buy or support the thing that we were going to do, be it passing out Gatorade on the marathon or by becoming a paying customer, they were never going to be that person. Yet those are the people who we let stop us doing from the very thing that we do. We stop ourselves when what we need to say is, not everyone will be for us or about us. Do you accept the terms of that? And if you say yes, then do the dang thing and do it to the best of your ability.
So the real entrepreneur has an internal focus that if they fall down, they say, oh, this is good because I'm going to go up higher. You know, the average person will fall down and say, oh, I'm going to take some Prozac. Or somebody has a mistake, so all the mistakes don't matter. Well, mistakes matter. It means you didn't know something. But a real entrepreneur, whether they fall down, they always can go up. They can stand back up and go higher. That no matter what happens to them, they get stronger and better and smarter.
I think that everybody should at least once in their life go all in on something. Something that you just believe in. That's living to me. Because knowing that we are now in a time where we've never had the opportunity like we have now. And if I don't take advantage of that opportunity, when it's time for me to go, I'm gonna feel real messed up about that.
Right.